I'm excited to introduce Amelia back to the Flower Podcast. Hey, how are you doing?
Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm great. Well, I want to make sure if we have a new watcher or listener or follower on our YouTube, that may have never heard of Rooted Farmers or your past episodes. Can you briefly just kind of tell us what Rooted Farmers is all about and a little bit about your history kind of leading up to this?
Sure. Yeah. So I am a flower farmer also. I started growing in 2017 and over the course of the kind of the early farming journey, started working with a group of growers. We're here in New Hampshire and Vermont. And we decided we really wanted to access the Boston market and decided to sort of build an informal collective. And in doing that, we realized we had some challenges in how we were presenting our product out to our buyers. We were using an availability list generally to communicate all of our inventory, all of our product, and it worked really well. I think for the first, kind of early months of the season when we had very few varieties, and we were really just kind of in that sort of spring bulb season. But at the point that we all sort of went into our peak summer production, the length of the availability list was just overwhelming.
I'm sure.
And so it was really kind of this feeling of there must be a better way to handle this. And so partway through that season, we had been working on putting together, at the time, what was sort of the vision was Etsy, but for flower farmers. So, where Etsy is connecting buyers and aggregating sellers' products, so across all of those crafters and artisans, we would do the same thing, except we'd do it across our group of growers. And that way I was no longer having to create availability lists. And our buyers were no longer having to sift through a really long Excel spreadsheet and try to match it to flower photos and, have all sorts of translation issues because we weren't always calling it the same thing that the buyers called it. So we launched our sort of bare bones version of what we have now in 2019, partway through the season, and got such enthusiastic feedback from our buyers that we just decided this has not only solved our problems and the buyers' problems, but we feel like this could really solve issues across the board, really broadly for growers of specialty cut flowers. And so then we were kind of off to the races. So we have grown increasingly every year and have benefited from just the feedback that we've gotten from all of our buyers and all of our growers. And we're just really excited about building something that's so useful to both sides of that equation.
Sure. Well, I know in the episode we just got done recording, it was crazy. Just you could just see both sides of this process and how excited they both were. And I know if you saw our YouTube video last year where we did this walkthrough, there are a few things that have changed. And so I'm really excited to kind of dive into the new and improved version of this platform. So take it away. Let's see what you got.
So this is just our homepage. So if you are not a member of Rooted, this is where you would land, just rootedfarmers.com. And you're able to learn more about our backstory, our history, how we serve these communities, how we serve growers and collectives, and how we serve buyers. And we also talk about the value of shopping from small farms and local growers. So you can learn a lot on here. And then if you decide to join us, it is free for buyers. There's absolutely no cost to buyers at any point along the way here. We don't ever want to make it more difficult for you to shop from a small farm. So there's no cost. That said, we do have an application process. That is important because we want to make sure that we're not bringing on, direct consumers. So retail customers, your customers as wholesale buyers. We don't want to bring them in a wholesale purchaser capacity. So we don't want those end consumers buying at wholesale costs. So there is an application. It'll probably take you about 5 minutes, but we do ask for your reseller certificate if you're in a state where sales tax is applicable. And that is so that we don't have to charge you sales tax. So that's kind of how you join. That's how you become a member. And we'll hop into just a pretend version of our website here so that we can see what it looks like once you do join and you start shopping. So some of the changes that we made they were the product of feedback that we got from all of our buyers and all of our growers. And we really make it a point to go out and have these conversations with our designers and our florists and say, what's working for you? What's not working for you? What's intuitive and what's not intuitive? How do we really streamline this and speed up this process of shopping from your local farms even more than we already have? And so that's really what's resulted in the changes that we see here. So previously we had really split out the shopping experience by product category. So you can see all of these different categories at the top here. And we used to have individual shopping experiences for each of them. We've now collapsed that all into one, and you can filter down if you'd like to, or you can look at all of the products, but you're able to really.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
You're doing great. I just was curious. So if I'm a buyer and I fill out the form and I get on the platform, is it done by farm or is it done by product in my area? How is that kind of?
We totally skipped over that one. That's a great question. So you are immediately going to be putting in an address if you're a retail customer, or if you're a wholesale customer, we just immediately route you to the region that you need to be in.
Okay.
And we do that based off of your address that you've submitted in your application. And once you do that, you're able to go into your sellers tab and you can find nearby sellers. And so you can find all of the farms near you and you can request to work with them. Now, it is up to the grower. So it is always going to be up to the grower whether they would like to opt into that relationship or not. And that's something that we're giving them the option of deciding on. That's not something that we're going to decide on their behalf, because they need to make a decision about, is this somebody who is close enough that it's worth it for me to make that delivery? Is this somebody who I know and I trust and I want to work with? Or is this a new relationship and I want to do some sort of evaluation process? So that's on the grower to decide, but you can request it. And growers also have the same tool on their side. So they will see when you join. And if you have growers near you, they may reach out and request to work with you also.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So when you come in here, I think this is a really, it's designed to really meet the needs of a floral buyer. So somebody who is probably thinking about purchasing flowers in a different way from how the growers are thinking about selling the flowers. So they're, typically we're going to see a designer coming in and thinking about it in a little bit more of an artistic way, thinking more in color palettes than they are in kind of the crop planning mentality. And also thinking about, within that arrangement that you're building, what design elements might you be looking for? It's possible you're also looking for a very specific type of flower. So we have a really flexible shopping experience here for you that really works well around kind of any of those constraints that you may have or buying preferences. So the first thing that most people do is they come in here and they start putting together a color palette that they're shopping for. And so you can pull together all of the colors that you're looking for, and then you can pull in that will automatically filter out all of the product that meets those criteria. And you can see at a glance here really quickly, the color, the stem length range, what are the quantities that are in stock? What are the prices? How many stems are in a bunch? And we only sell in 5s and 10s for straight bunches. But you're able to really, because they're all round numbers, you're able to really quickly do the math on how many you need. And then when you go to add something to your cart, the delivery preferences or your constraints that you have, which are, again, assigned by the grower. So the grower is deciding what makes sense for that relationship and for their delivery schedules. You're going to choose from whatever the options are here. You can also view it by calendar. So it's really up to you how you want to shop. And then you add it to your cart. And this eliminates all of that back and forth between buyers and growers. That's really time consuming for buyers and also for growers, but can really hinder that buying experience on other sites, and also just kind of working off of that availability list system.
So, something that came up in our last interview that I was curious about, when somebody puts something in a shopping cart, is it on hold, and for how long is it on hold if it is? Because I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So one of the pieces of feedback that we got from our buyers was that they really needed to have product reserved. So a lot of folks who join Rooted are moving over from a Shopify or a Squarespace website. And while that sort of solves the e-commerce problem, it actually ends up creating a lot more frustration on the part of a lot of buyers, because especially when there are people who are competing for products. So if you have 5 buyers or 10 buyers who you're working with simultaneously, and they all hop on at the same time, on Shopify and on Squarespace, they're actually able to buy inventory out from each other if it hasn't actually been purchased yet, which is
Really?
really, yeah, it's super frustrating to the buyers, because they'll spend all this time building a cart, and it'll look like they're going to get everything that's in their shopping cart. And then they go to hit the checkout button, and actually they lost half of it because another buyer was purchasing the same thing and they just happened to check out before you were able to check out. That's not how this works. If you put something in your cart, you are holding that item for yourself for an hour. So you have an hour, we give you an hour to check out. It does go back into inventory after that time. So if you leave your cart, if you just abandon it for 65 minutes, it will not be there when you get back. But you do have 60 minutes to go through and put an order together. And Rhea mentioned on our podcast that that was really important to her, because she is able to relax through that buying process. She's able to just sort of browse. She's able to walk through, what are the different products that she could buy. And that experience being more relaxing ends up leading her to purchase more product, which is really important feedback to understand from your buyers.
Wow. Yeah. Well, there's certain times of year, like when we hit peony season here in 6 weeks or so, it's going to be probably more like 8 weeks, but, and there's only so many white peonies and people want them for a wedding or something. And it doesn't take any time at all for them to go poof and they're gone. And I know, whether like I'm looking at narcissus on this, it could be the same thing. So, yeah, or dahlias in the summertime. So yeah, I can see where that is a really huge deal. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So what is that? Are these photographs actually like stock photos, or are they
Oh,
from?
we don't have any stock photos. So all of the photos that are on the site are from the grower. So the grower is uploading photos, the grower is attaching them to their listing. So whatever you're seeing is what the grower feels is representative of that product. So, and it's really nice too, because flowers are such a visual purchase. So
Yeah.
you can really quickly scan through these thumbnails, and then you can blow it up and look at it and say, yeah, I love that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Or nope, not quite. I don't love the yellow, sort of highlights in the center of that, and I'm going to move on to the next flower. So it's nice because it allows you to pull in everything that you could need as an input for making that decision. Then you also have descriptions here. If there's a description that the grower has decided to list, you're able to see that right on the listing here. You're able to see what are the different pickup delivery options. So everything is right at your fingertips so that you can very quickly make a decision, add it to your cart, check out, and be done.
Well, okay, so I've got to ask this. So it says pickup and delivery. Now, that's something set by the buyer, or is that something set by the flower farmer or the grower? I
That's set by
mean,
the
yeah.
grower. Yep, that's set by the grower. So we can see here there's a pickup option. So in this case, the grower has said that, and this is the grower here, the grower has said that this particular buyer is able to receive pickup on these dates or delivery on these dates. And so the buyer has the option of choosing from whatever the grower has given as those constraints. And so instead of placing your order and then texting or sending an Instagram DM saying, okay, I placed my order, when can I expect delivery? Or can I get delivery? Is there an extra fee with delivery? How does that work? All of it is just built in here. So you don't have any of those extra communication steps with your grower.
So when you click add to cart, a delivery, then that shows up as a fee on your cart.
Yep. So the growers are setting their delivery fees. So we can take a look here. This does not have a delivery fee. This one does. So this is a different farm. You can purchase from multiple farms at the same time. You can purchase from a collective if their collective is on here. And you can see that this particular grower has a $25 delivery fee that's built into their ordering process. You can add notes here as a buyer, so you can tell them. So if somebody has listed something, if they've listed their cafes and they call them blush, you can say, I know that you have blush listed, but really, I'm happy with anything from ivory to lavender. Any color is fine on these. You can share that context. Or we have buyers who really want certain things tightly budded. They're able to share, I really need these lilies completely closed. Please don't bring them unless they're not. And again, it just eliminates the back and forth process when you're trying to work with your growers.
I love that. Can we, and I don't know how much inventory is loaded in this particular demo page or beta page or what we're on. Can we maybe pretend, let's play pretend and say we have a wedding coming up, and you probably know what colors you might have easier or more abundance of, and then let's just put together kind of a little order so people can see just how it works.
Yeah, so there are two different ways that you can purchase. So you can, as a buyer, you can either purchase from your shop page here, or you can go directly to the farm that you're wanting to work with. So if you can always filter down your search here. So you can always pull out, say, I only want to search, work with this farm here. They're the only product that I want to work with. You can change the dates that you're looking for. You can change your address here. So test is not the address we'll use. We'll pull in a Portland address here. And then you're able to see all of their products. So you can type in, if you're looking for zinnias, you can add zinnias to your cart. We're going to choose that as our delivery day. We can see that we have 2 in our cart here. And then we can see, do these feel like they'll match my color palette? I think they will. And so I'm going to add those also. And then you can just clear out your search there and you can go back. You're able to, so we'll see what colors do we have here. So we'll say we're looking for coral and we're looking for cream and we're looking for burgundy. So now we're able to pull in that specific color palette that we're looking for. Now, generally, this is not a lot of inventory because this is our pretend version of our website. So this is, we have limited things on here, but most of our growers are going to have a lot more product than this at any given time. So the ability to really filter out all of the noise, and really look specifically at what is this item that I'm looking for, or what fits these color, palettes that I'm looking for is just super helpful. If you want to shop right from their profile, you can do that too. So you just would click right on their farm name. So we'll just click to open this up. You can learn more about their farm here. So you can get to see, kind of at a glance, any statistics, when they typically update their inventory, when they're usually growing product. And then you can shop right from their profile and you have all the same tools right in front of you here. So we'll open this one because I know there's a little bit more product here. So in this case, I'm able to pull any of these categories. I can look at them all together. I can filter down to just one of them. I can shop by color palette. Again, if I'm only looking for orange or coral, or I don't have coral here. So I'm going to get a prompt to broaden my search a little bit. I have orange here. There we go. So you're able to shop in a way that's really intuitive to you. And again, you can pull in all of the dahlias. So if you're really just tunnel vision for dahlias, you can really quickly filter those out too.
That never happens. I can't imagine that ever happening. Well, I
Never.
really like the fact that you can select like the entire color palette, not just one color at a
Yeah.
time. You can
Yeah.
put in the whole spectrum and then have it all load, and you really get to see how those things work. Now, one thing I noticed, and this could be my computer screen, or this could be years of wholesale selling dahlias, for example, but like you had orange, and then that dahlia showed up, and to me, that dahlia was more coral really than
Yeah.
orange. And
That's
I'm
what happens when you have a developer make you an inventory listing, and his sense of colors may not be your sense of colors. So we're gonna blame that one on Max. I'm sorry, Max. I know that you try very hard.
that's okay.
We're totally blaming you. No, color is always a question, right? Because it's a little subjective. So, I think growers really try hard to get the color right in their selection here. But at the end of the day, it may be that their interpretation of coral is closer to orange. And you want to really look at those photos. And so that's where it's really helpful to be able to say, I get that you have called these orange. I think that they're more coral. And you can ask for, you can ask for that in your notes too when you place the order, is just say, I'm looking for coral. If these aren't coral, is there anything you can sub for me that is coral?
Well, I like that. And I like the fact that it even has like the variety name. So sometimes, I mean, I'm guilty of this. Sometimes when I'm like, oh, this picture, I'm not sure. And I go and Google that variety. And then I look at 100 pictures. And I'm like, okay, I'm more comfortable with that color palette all of a sudden
Yeah.
now than I might have been. And you see that, 85% of the pictures are the right color for you. So you're like, okay, then I feel good about it. So as buyers come into it and they discover, the new farmers in the area and such. I know that I've had some feedback, they didn't have any members already in their area. And I always say, well, call your farmers up and tell them to get on Rooted Farmers. I don't know if you have any pointers for that, or how do people go about that, or
Yes, I
um,
think I think your advice is great. I think it takes time to build a network, and we've got small farms all across the country, but certainly there are pockets where we don't have a grower, and that is just the case. And it will probably always be the case. But the way that we build that network is by continuing to bring folks on the buyer side, and continuing to bring folks on the grower side, because increasingly what we hear is that there are connections that people are building. Buyers are discovering growers, and growers are discovering buyers who they had never worked with before. And so they're building these relationships, because when we bring on a new buyer in a region where we do have growers, all the growers within a radius of that buyer get notified, and they are told, hey, we have a new buyer who's just joined. Do you want to work with them? Buyers have the exact same thing. So if you join as a buyer and that you don't have growers right near you, you will be notified as soon as we bring on growers in your region, because as within that radius of you and the address that you provided with your application, we are sending out emails to notify you. So if we bring on a grower near you and you happen to not have one when you last checked, you'll be notified, and you'll get an email that says, hey, we just brought on a new farm near you. Do you want to work with them? And it will prompt you to go in and request to connect with those growers.
I love that. That's so good because, yeah, I mean, I don't know of a florist, a wedding design, somebody who buys flowers for their business who wouldn't love to find out about a new flower grower near them. I mean, I know I do all the time. So, that's awesome. All right. Is there anything else that we need to see, or I mean, I can't get over how much is here.
I think we've captured pretty much everything
Okay.
on the buyer side. I think we've covered a lot of it. You can always go in and review your past orders so they don't disappear on you. You're going to be
Oh,
able to see all of your active orders here. You can always go in and look at your processed orders. So you can always pull up your order history and then go in and you can see what it is that you purchased. You would see any changes here. So there's a full audit trail on every order. So if there are any changes to the order, if you ask for more bunches or fewer bunches or a substitute or, additional types of flowers on your order, all of that gets tracked in a way that is fully transparent to you. So it says, this item was added, this item was changed, and then you can see what the increases or decreases were, if there were pricing changes, and there's full transparency on every single step there. That just eliminates you having to go back and rack your brain and say, what did I order there, and what was I expecting to get, and how did it change? And now you've got a full record here of every single order that you purchase in the system.
Sure. So how far in advance can you place an order?
So that is up to the growers. So, typically for diversified farms, you're going to be ordering within a week to 2 weeks of your delivery day. Not many growers go farther out than that. I think the exception there would be specialized growers. So we have some peony growers. We have some peony growers in Kansas. We have some peony growers in Alaska. They're able to estimate their yields with pretty high accuracy very far in advance. So they are able to offer those pre-orders now, for example, for July. And that's not something that as growers of, annual product, we're able to forecast. But when you've got established perennial plants that you're able to offer that for with reliability, then you are able to, let your buyers place orders now for over the summer. So it really depends on who the seller is, how far out they'll let you order.
Sure. So if I'm asking this from the farmer side, but I'm really thinking of the buyer when I ask this. If I am new to the platform and is it Trifle Flower Farm? If I am new to them and I've asked to be admitted to their bounty, and and they have accepted my request, is there a way for me to kind of see flowers that they grow, or do I have to wait, like maybe it's sold out, or do I have to wait for them to actually add physical inventory?
So right now you can only see product that they're offering for sale today. I think we mentioned Max earlier. We blamed him for our color change.
Bless his heart.
Max is the best. So Max is working on a project that will come out later this year that will offer coming soon as an option. So growers will have the ability to provide a lookbook to their buyers. He will kill me if I promise a deadline on that. So I'm not going to tell you a date that'll be ready, but at some point this season, he'll have a coming soon tool that will go out for everybody. And it'll allow growers to communicate much farther in advance and say, this is what I have. And so exactly where we were here on this profile, where were we? We'll go over here. So right here, where you would be able to purchase, you'd also see coming soon here. So you'd be able to just look, what are the things that are coming soon? And instead of seeing, 7 bunches in stock, you'd see expected late May. And then you'd really have a sense going through all of their product of, what can you sort of not count on, but what can you expect is the type of product that would be available given, certain events that you have. This is funny too. Cafe au laits for 85 cents. So that's really, this is some flower humor here. So I'm just noticing that as I'm looking at it. I think that's really funny. So the coming soon tool, I think, is again feedback from buyers who have said, we're planning for events now, and we understand that we can't place the order, but we want to have some sense of the product that we could expect during that time frame, so we can set expectations with our clients. And so that's where that feature is really coming from.
Sure. Well, and I can understand though that you don't want to necessarily rely or count on that, but at least it allows you to have that comfort of saying, okay, this
Yep.
time of year, I'm seeing a color palette I can work with.
Yeah.
Perfect. You know?
Yep.
So we
And it
can say,
also, I think it's really helpful on the grower side too, because if you have buyers who are saying, I really need tulips in August, you can say, I'm not going to have tulips in August, but here are the things that I am going to have. Take a look and see what you think. So, so it's helpful, I think, on both sides.
sure. So what we can say here is that the coming soon is coming soon.
Coming
So
soon. Yeah, that was good.
okay, so okay, I don't have any other questions. Is that, and I feel like we've covered it really well. This is great for part one for everybody who's just now so engulfed. We're going to create a part two for the buyer or the farmer side of it, and which is fascinating as well. So if you're a buyer and you want to hear more about the farmer side of it, and what goes into it, this is probably where you really see the power and benefit, because now the farmer's not going to spend so much time doing tech and inventory and ordering, and they can spend more time growing fabulous flowers for you. So we love everything about that. All right, so stay tuned for part two.